The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for joining us on this webinar today. Just quick introductions. I'm Donald O'Neill, Marketing Manager for Clonmel William Health. I'll be emceeing today, and again, as per usual, I have Ronan Leonard with me, who is our Practice Ireland support team leader. Ronan's going to run. Hi, sorry, hiya, Ronan. Ronan's going to run through templates in HPM today. This is the last webinar in this Lunch and Learn series, so we're really keen to hear feedback if you guys have any. So please do feel free to drop me an email. Any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. As per usual, we will be taking questions at the end. So if you have any questions, just click on the question tab on the control panel, which should be on the right hand side of your screen. Type the question in there and it'll come through to us, and we'll do our best to get through as many as we can at the end. But again, as it's always lunchtime, we'll get cracking and try and get through this as quickly as we can. So I'm going to hand the controls over to Ronan now, who's going to lead you through the training. Sorry, just bear with me for 1 second. And there we go. Ronan should be on his way to you now.
Okay, so we're just going to go through the letter template section today. What we'll do is we'll go through the normal process for adding a letter to a patient chart, and then we'll look at some more advanced areas and tools there as well. Okay, so as you probably all know, you can access the letter section from this panel here, or you can access it from in here as well. Now, if I click on this panel here, I just want to specify that obviously you have 3 different document forms. You have letters, documents, and forms. So we're just going to be concentrating on letters today. All right, so there's a couple of different methods to add the letter. You can click on add a letter here and you get your pop-up. You can click on documents and add letter here. You get the same pop-up. Or you can actually click on the panel in the letter section and click on add here. And again, you get the same pop-up. Okay, now I wanted to just show you something that you may actually see in your own practice. You may notice that when I click on add letter here, I actually get a little drop-down list here. Now, if you don't like that, you can actually go into administration, other settings, and practice configuration. And inside practice settings, there's this little tick box here, thumbnail preview selector for documents. So if I tick that and click on add letter, you'll see that it actually gives me a letter with a preview, so as I know what I'm opening. Now, it depends on your preference. It's there as a setting that you can change. To be honest, it's a personal preference for me. I prefer just the list, so I'm going to just change it back to that. Now, so as I said, the normal, just if you add a letter, what we'll do is we'll just select standard patient letter, click OK, and you get your pop-up here. And then obviously it brings in whatever merge fields you have added in already. So we'll just go just put in whatever we need to type in there. And we just click on the save disk here, or if you click on close, it'll ask you, do you want to save? So normally I always just click on the save disk first and then just close it. And there's also, if you click on the Helix icon here, you've got a lot more options here. You've got save, which is save inside. You've got save a copy. You can save it as an RTF outside of HPM, and you can put it on your desktop if you wanted to email it, but you can email it internally from HPM as well. And then you have your print options here as well, as you know. Okay, so we'll just close that. Okay, now, so that's, I mean, everyone probably knows that already, so we want to sort of get into the bones of kind of editing templates. So if I go into administration and templates, now, this is the main list here. So I have a category filtered here, just 3 categories that will appear in the drop-down list when you're adding a letter in the patient's chart. And they are general, patient, and referral. Now, 99% of letters are just stored in the patient category, okay? So I have that filtered there. Now, so what we'll do is we'll just edit a template that's already there. So say I want to change the standard patient letter. It could be a case that I'm always writing the same line in the first page of a letter and I don't want to have to type it every time. So if I click on standard patient letter, click on edit, and click on edit again, you'll see that this looks slightly different so far as it's bringing in merge fields as opposed to the actual practice details. So say if I want to write okay. Now if I save that, I'll save that now and I'll close it. Now, it's important you click OK here. Click OK there as well. And if I go back into the patient chart again and click on Add Letter, Standard Patient Letter, click OK. You'll see that it's brought in that text. It's just a way of saving you having to retype the same thing over and over again if you're typing something quite regularly, all right? So that's just a very quick edit there. Now, and also, as you know, it has all the normal kind of word-related features for bolding, underlining, italics, spell check, all that kind of stuff, and your alignment and margins as well here. So I'll save and close. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new template from scratch. So you go into administration again and into templates. And instead of clicking on edit or highlighting any, just click add. Okay, we'll give this a title. And we'll put it into category patient. And you don't have to import a document if you don't want. You can if you want to, but you can just click new doc. And what that does is it saves a completely blank document here for you to put in whatever fields you want. Okay, so this is totally blank. So what you can actually do from here is go into the Helix Manager tab. Now this tab here holds basically pretty much all the information relating to the practice and any information that would be sort of relating to the patient as well. So I suppose in the case of this letter, the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to have the practice details here. So if I go into practice details and go practice name, do a carriage return. It's important to note that the merge field that you select will always just go exactly wherever you have the cursor. So I have the cursor here. So my address line 1 will go here. I'll carriage return again. My address line 2 will go here. And so on and so forth. So if I click on address line 4, and then what I can do is I can go back to the home tab here. I can highlight all this. I can center it. I can make it bigger, just so that it will appear sort of like a proper header. Okay, we just change this back to 10 there. Now, so once we've done that, so basically if we'll go back to the fields then, so this could be any normal kind of letter. So if I click on Helix Manager tab here, we've practice details, we've clinician details. Now, this would be the patient's registered healthcare provider. So if this was a letter that was coming from the patient's GP to a third party, you would always put the clinical details in here. You have patient demographics. So, I mean, if this is a referral letter, you would probably put in something along the lines of RE. And we go full name, comma, space, contact details, full address, and then probably something along the lines of date of birth. Okay, and again, you could highlight that, center line it, and from what I've seen, normally it's bold and underlined as well. And I'll bring this back to the left. I'll take out these two, and we'll just say now, that would probably be sort of the norm. And then what would be normally in a letter would be kind of their medication details, their consultation notes, or something of that nature. So there's two different ways that data is sort of presented in the Helix Manager tab. One is what you see here, which is just merge fields, which basically when you open the letter in the patient's chart, it actually calls in the practice name, it calls in the patient name, whatever that may be. The other way that it actually calls in information is by tables as well. So if I click on medication, you have your options for all medication, active long-term, or Cardex medication, which you probably won't use because that's just for nursing homes. So if I click on active long-term, just say active medication, you'll see that you get an additional option now. Basically, the idea here is there's some columns here that you may not want. You may not need admin method, so I can untick admin method. You may not want directions, so you can untick that. You may want day supply, so you can tick on that box. And you can also move these around as well. So I can put this back here. I can put this over here. You know, it's totally up to you, so you can decide whatever way you want to do it. You can also set it to show the headings and draw the border, which will show the headings of a table and draw the border of a table, or you can set it to do neither. So for now, I'm just going to leave them both ticked, and I'm just going to click OK. And you can see it's generated a table there. Now that table has nothing in it, but that table will actually grow and be plotted properly in the patient's chart if they have medications in their chart. Okay, so now let me just run through exactly what else. So I can just save this letter here. I click on save. Now I've saved that as a template now. So that's called test template, and I click OK. So that now exists in my system now. So if I go into a patient now and click on add letter, there it is there. Okay, I can click OK. And you'll see that it's brought in my full name, the name of the surgery, and the medication that I'm currently on. All right, and I'll save that in the patient's chart. Now, so that's kind of it, just sort of a rudimentary sort of creation of a template. The other thing I wanted to show you that I don't think gets used very often is if I go into, I'll open this template again rather than add another one. I'll just edit the one we have. Because this is a good one and I don't think many people use it. If I have a template created and it's set to sort of bring in certain fields, but if I find that a letter template isn't bringing in consultation notes because it's just not set to at the moment, because normally I don't want them, but this time I do want them. This Helix Manager field, not only does it work in the template section for creating templates, it works in a letter in the patient chart in real time as well, which is really, really good. So say if I wanted to include all this patient's consultation notes, if I click on any one of these tabs here, if I click on consultation notes here and click on all notes, see there's a difference there. When we were looking at it in the template, it wasn't bringing back any information. It was just showing you what the table was going to look like. But because we're in a patient's chart now, it's actually calling the information back in real time. So if I had 5 or 6 different consultation notes, they would all be listed here. And you could literally select whichever one you want to appear and click OK, and they will appear in the letter. So if I click on date and bring that date back here, and if I just click OK, and I'll draw the headings to show the border. I click OK, you'll see that that's actually bringing that into that letter in real time, and you can save and print and do whatever you need to do. The idea of that is that you may not want to have 15 or 20 different templates just based on what you want in a template or not, just for these sort of instances where the odd time you might want to chuck in something extra. So it's handy to know that all these merge fields are operational in the patient's chart as well. They will bring in that patient's information. Just to note that you're not editing the template in any way when you're doing this. This is just a local copy in the patient's chart. So if you wanted consultation notes to appear in every template, you'd need to put it into the template section like we looked at earlier. Okay. So that's that. We'll just close that. Now, so we've done that. So I want to just show some other things as well. Another thing that we get asked about quite a bit is setting up sort of headers and footers and stuff like that. So if I go back into standard patient letter and click on edit and edit. Now, as you can see, kind of, you know, that gives sort of the practice name, and I'd be happy enough with that. But, you know, you probably want to include sort of practice logos or something of that nature. So what you can actually do is if I click on insert, you can actually click on header and click on add. And once you're in here, you can put in whatever text you want in here and it will get saved in the header. So for example, I'm going to insert even an image. I click on insert image. I go into desktop and I'll actually select just any logo that I have, or if you had your practice logo there, you can see that I just have a test logo there. And now if I just click out of that header, you'll see that that's actually saved. If I click on save on that template, I'll close that. And if I go back into the patient chart and go to add a letter, we'll select standard patient letter, which is the one I edited. You'll see that it has the logo by default. Now, so that's that. We'll go back into templates again. And we'll go into standard patient letter again. Now, so the other thing that you might want to do with your header as well is, say you've done this, you know, on one sort of letter, and you don't want to have to keep doing it on all the other letters. You want it done across the board. You want something quicker. So what I'll do is I'm just going to show you something very quickly here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to bring that text over there, and we'll just put okay. Now again, it looks a bit crude, but don't worry. I just wanted to show you one thing. So what you can actually do within the software as well, it's a very clever thing. They're called snippets. I don't know if anyone uses them. I think a good few people use them. So whoever, if you're familiar with them, great. They're a very, very useful piece of software. So if I wanted to set up, say, any kind of header, I'm going to just do it in here. We'll double click in here. I can highlight all this. And if I highlight that and if I right click, sorry. Yeah, making a liar out of me now. Hold on. So if I copy this down here, and I just type in just for example, if I highlight anything here and if I right click on any text, you get this little option down the bottom, create snippet. So if I click on create snippet, I can give this a title header, and you want to make it available to all users. You can give it a specific icon, or you can just leave it. It'll give it a named icon, and you can even assign it a specific shortcut if you want. So I click OK on that, and now I can just delete that. And now if you have a look, I'm going to get back into this header here, and I'm going to just delete everything I've done there. And if I click in there, you'll see that I have another header. I have this icon here called Snippets, and I have this little icon here called Header. Now, if I click on that, you see straight away, it populates the information there. Okay. So what you can actually do is I'm going to close this now. What you can actually do is, if I go back into the test letter here again, filter on test template. And now if I carriage return this down, what you can actually do is click on Snippets, click on Header, click Save, and that's in that template from then on. You don't actually even have to put it into the specific header. You can just put it on the top of the page if you want. But what it means is you don't have to go into each template, Donald, and just kind of start the header from scratch each time.
That's great. And then
this applies to absolutely any piece of text. So what I can do is I can actually go insert text box. I can put a text box here. I know that a lot of practices you'd have your practice name and address here, and you might have Dr. A, and his name is, I'm just going to put in qualifications here. They're not going to make any sense. MRBCI, and then you might have to put in another text box over here, so I'll drag this over. And you'd have another letter here. What you can actually do, like, it doesn't matter now, I know they're offline, but I can highlight the whole lot of that and select create snippet.
So that you have it everywhere, yeah.
So you have it everywhere. So if I go create snippet there now, and I just call this test, okay? And I'll just delete the whole lot of that. There it is there. And so no matter what letter template I open, I can just click on that, and it'll pop in whatever I need. And this goes for, as well, this kind of thing, or if you have a paragraph you use a lot of the time that you think it might be useful if you created a snippet for it, so that's kind of, I don't know if that's used enough. I know a lot of people do use it, but it's a really, really good feature, and it really does save a lot of time,
Yeah.
If you have sort of referral letters that contain the same sort of paragraph of writing, please check this, this, and this, you just literally hit one button rather than typing it,
Yeah.
So that one is good to know. So that's headers and footers and snippets. It's also worth noting as well, I'm going to abandon that again. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but it's also worth noting, if you have a Word document, Donald, with kind of a nice header on it, or you have a Word document with like just some nice formatting on it, you can import that. If you click on Add, you have an option here to import. As long as the file is RTF, not a Word document. If you save it in Word, but save it as an RTF file,
Okay.
you can give it any name you want here. Give it any name you want here, and then click on Import, and it'll actually bring in all the formatting from Word. If you prefer to create stuff in Word and then import it in, you know.
And that'd be just in your Word document, click on Save As, and then the drop down RTF would.
Exactly, yeah. Be save as, and you have the option for RTF. I think it's the second or third one down, you know.
Yeah.
So that's that. So the other thing, again, I wanted to show, I wanted to make sure I tried to cover it before. We're nearly finished now. I know we're kind of getting tight for time, but there's a bit in it. So if I click on Add Letter, I don't know if, see this here, it's for review, okay? Now, what that is you can set any letter you add to a patient's chart to be for review by a doctor, okay? Now again, we don't get too many calls on it on the desk, so I don't know how prevalent the usage of it is, but I think it's very useful. It went into the system a couple of years ago. So say if I've set a letter to be for review, I'm going to add a letter now, and I'm going to set it to be for review by, I think I'm logged in as myself, so I'll click that, okay? Save and close. And now if I go into tasks, and there's a little button here down there called review, and you can actually filter on any doctor, and it'll have all the list of letters that are for review by you, and then you can mark them as reviewed.
Okay.
It's just a useful little thing that you know, a few sites asked for. So what you can do, if you have a list of letters that you needed to go through, rather than going into each chart one at a time,
you have them there.
If the admin, exactly, if the it's sort of similar to the bloods, the central exam management.
Sure.
If you have admin staff, you could get them to mark these letters for review, so that rather than going into one patient file at a time, you can access them all centrally, read them all at once, and mark them as reviewed, so you know you've read them.
That's great.
You know.
Yeah.
So I think that is it. Now I know I probably covered a lot there now, so I just want to scan through and make sure I haven't missed anything that's too important. I don't think I have.
No worries.
No, that's it.
We had a question in from Martina there, just asking, is it the same process for editing and setting up receipt templates?
Yes, it is. It's very similar. Now, I don't want to go in too much to receipts because they're a little bit more complex.
Okay.
But they are templates in the same way. Prescriptions, I'd like sort of for us to assist you with them, because again, they can be complex, especially when you're involved in sort of GMS paper. But the accounts is the same. If I go into administration and templates and see the patient category here, if I scroll down, you see the way you have here system accounts invoice, system accounts receipts, and system account statement. Okay, if I click on invoice, that's filtering that because of the test name. If I click on filter here, you'll see that we've actually got company invoice using models and invoice using models and invoice and company invoice. What's the difference? Okay, I'm going to open an invoice and I'm just going to show you what happens. I'll open invoice using models, okay? Click edit. So that's what that one looks like. That's invoice using models. And this is just invoice. I click edit, edit. Now, do you see the difference in the fields?
Sure.
They're not. They're slightly longer.
Okay.
So when HPM was sort of came out first, it had a slightly different method of actually populating templates with information. Okay. And then about a year or so after its sort of development, we introduced a second method that sort of was a bit more user-friendly, kind of gave more options and stuff like that. So depending on what way your accounts templates are set up, your invoice will either use the invoice template or the invoice using models template. The invoice using models template is the one that's it's the exact same as a letter template using the Helix Manager fields.
Okay.
So if I click on administration and other settings, and practice configuration, and into practice settings, you can actually check use models for accounts. If that's ticked, you're using this template. If that's not ticked, you're using this template.
Okay.
Okay, and that's the same for receipts, as you can see, and the same for statements as well. But give us a call. We'll run through that with you. I know, like running through for 2 minutes, probably need a bit more. If you wanted to edit the templates, give us a call and we can step you through it. It's very straightforward.
Sure. Okay. Well, hopefully that helps, Martina. And look, if you have any questions, do give the guys a call and they'll help you get set up. Cool. Again, any more questions? Just pop them in the box there, and we'll get through it. I was just wondering in terms of the letter templates and the list. Is there any reason to the order they appear? So if I create a new template and it's appearing in the bottom of the list, why would that be? You know what I mean? Or can I bring it to the top?
Yeah, I'll show you that here. So if I just remove that filter there again, just bear with me now. Filter. Now, as you can see, I'm getting rid of the forms. I'll show the category we've been looking at. So as you can see, there's a sequence number here down on the 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all the rest are 99. Okay. If I go to add a new template, it gives the priority of 0 by default. Okay. Now what can happen is one or two things can happen there, Donald. They can all be 0. If they're all 0, it will be in alphabetical order.
Okay.
If there is any change to these sequence numbers, it will be in the order of sequence from then on. So what can happen is you can add a letter, and for some reason you gave it a sequence number of 99, or it is the sequence number of 0, but the title of the letter begins with W, and every other template has a sequence number of 0. So it's appearing down near the bottom of the list. So what you can actually do here is you can just go in and into any one of these and adjust. So if I highlight this, click edit, you can just change the priority there.
Okay.
Change that to 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever you want. And if you wanted to, what we could actually do for you in the database, if you wanted to do a really good tidy up, you may have chances are you probably have a lot more templates here than I do, you know. What you can actually do is we can actually essentially, if you request it, we could get onto the database and set all the sequence numbers to be 99. It's just so that you could then, once you have them all set to 99, you can then go, okay, my top 15 are this, and you can go and do it accordingly then, you know.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then do you ever get it if you've created a template and saved it, but it doesn't show up in the list when you try and add it to a patient chart? Does that happen? Or?
Yes, it does. I've seen it before. So what can happen is say if I was actually working on something and then I'm adding a new template, say if I had been working on an invoice template and then I just forgot, and I'm adding a new template and I stick it in the category system accounts invoice, it won't appear when you try and add it to a patient chart.
Okay. Yeah, because it doesn't count.
Because there's this drop down here only looks in the patient, the general, and the referral category.
Sure. Okay.
It doesn't look anywhere else because the rest of the templates are system templates as opposed to patient-related templates.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And also it's worth checking as well. If you go into the administration templates, there's a chance that somebody could have just inactivated it by mistake. So what you do is you type in the title of your template, and it won't appear here. But what you do is you click on Show Inactive.
Okay.
And you can see that there's one. You can just highlight that, untick that box.
Make it active again. Yeah.
Make it active again.
Okay. Cool. That was great, Ronan. Look, that was really useful. Hopefully there's a few tips and tricks in there that you guys can start using. And again, it's all just really about saving time and making things easier for everyone. And I think that was a great way to do it. There's lots there that people can use. So look, we're pretty much out of time. So again, just a quick thank you to yourself, Ronan, for this series of webinars. It's been very informative even for me as a marketing person. And I hope all the attendees enjoyed them. As always, these will be available up on YouTube, and if you just search for HPM Lunch and Learn webinars, they should come back to you there. We'll be adding this one later on today, and again, we're open to all feedback, so please do send me an email if you have any feedback. And look, I think again, we may look to do another series in the new year, so we'll keep you posted on that. But for now, thanks everyone for attending, and thanks to yourself, Ronan, again, and I hope everyone has a lovely weekend. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys.